What's up, welcome back, another Genshin Impact video, and today let's talk a bit about the upcoming Kazuha Rerun, which is his first rerun ever since his banner came out, which has actually been a while, because like we've already had Ayaka's rerun, right? We've got we've had Raiden's rerun, we had Kokomi's rerun, and they were all banners that came out, like Ito's rerun, all banners that came out after Kazuha's initial banner, right? So it's actually kind of crazy how long it's been since he first came out. And damn, he's a good unit, man. He's a good unit. Definitely a well-deserved long-awaited rerun. So let's talk about him a bit, right? So I mean, there's not too much to talk about, I guess, in terms of like, it's just very simple. He's a Anemo unit, okay? He's a very good Anemo unit. And by Anemo unit, I mean he's a Viridescent user, right? You could use the Viridescent artifact set to shred the opponent's elemental resistance, which is almost always good. And by almost always, I mean in all teams except for like DPS, Anemo teams, Geo teams, or physical teams. But outside of that, right, whatever elemental team you throw him in, right, automatically gonna be good. Automatically gonna be good, right? But you know, outside of that, you also have some other things that he does relatively well. His E could have a bit of a crowd control effect. It's not like that great, but you know, it's not like Venti's Q, right? But you know, it's something, right? Plunging attack could do some solid Anemo damage, I guess, right? And then your alt is also very nice, right? It's just like big field that swirls constantly, basically. And on top of that, if you do ascend him, right, you also do get over here, right, poetics of whatever that word is. Upon triggering a swirl reaction, Kazuha will grant all party members a 0.04% elemental damage bonus to the element absorbed by swirl for every point of elemental mastery he has for 8 seconds. Bonuses for different elements obtained through this method can coexist, right? So you get elemental damage bonus for your team, right? Or well, I guess the team that got that, teammates that got that element swirled, right? But for in those cases, that's huge, because it's generally, again, if you are building elemental mastery Kazuha, which you generally should, right? You are getting a pretty big elemental damage bonus boost to your team, right? So again, not only are you shredding opponent's elemental resistance, you're giving your team even more elemental damage bonus, right? He's just a fantastic support. Just fantastic support, man. Right? I don't know what else to say. He shreds opponent's resistance, gives elemental damage bonus, right? Can crowd control a bit, can deal additional, you know, swirl damage, etc., right? And also on top of that, he has like one of the like top constellation 2s in the game, right? If you are planning to pull for extra constellation, right? His C2 over here, right? The your Q created by Kazuha has following effects: increases Kazuha's own elemental mastery by 200 first duration, right? So that's extra damage himself, also the extra elemental damage bonus that he could give, which again does scale upon his own elemental mastery, and gives elemental mastery of characters within the field by 200. That is a lot of elemental mastery. That's an insane amount of elemental mastery that you're giving to your team, right? On top of, again, all the other bonus, elemental damage bonus, shred that you're giving, right? Like this guy's C2 is incredibly powerful, right? So yeah, that being said, right, he's one of the top units in the game, in my opinion, right? Definitely one of the top units in the game, one of the best supports in the game as well, right? He's just up there as like this guy is unreal. Like this guy, again, you could throw him into almost any team. Man. Immediate impact, right? Again, just outside of Like, even an emo DPS, sure, right? Just like, outside of maybe Geo teams and physical teams, right? Where obviously you can't really shred Geo because you can't apply Geo to opponents, and physical, you're not doing too much for physical. I guess you could group them up with, and then Eula's burst after, hopefully they don't move for the entire time, and then burst hit them. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, most teams, he's going to be an immediate impact unit, right? He's just going to be good. He's just going to be good on them. He's going to be good on them, right? That being said, is this guy must pull, right? Because, again, a lot of people do consider him as one of the best, one of the top units in the game. Definitely one of the top 5 stars in the game. And I tend to agree, right? I tend to agree. I do think he is definitely up there, right? Definitely up there with the best of the best in terms of 5 stars. But is he a must pull? I would argue very much so that he is not a must pull. As great as he is, right? And main reason being is the existence of Sucrose and other Anemo units like a Venti or whatever, right? And I'm mainly talking about Sucrose because I do think Sucrose is probably one of the better ones, right? In that conversation, and Sucrose might be a bit more similar to Kazuha than anyone else, right? I'd say Venti is pretty similar to Kazuha as well, but I'd say Sucrose a bit more. Sucrose is a 4-star, right? And Sucrose basically does a lot of things that Kazuha does, sometimes arguably even better, right? Sometimes arguably even better than Kazuha. There's a few things Sucrose doesn't do that Kazuha does, right? I'm not saying Sucrose is straight up better than Kazuha. That is not the case, right? In some scenarios, she could be better. In some scenarios, Kazuha is better, all right? But, for example, some things that Sucrose has over Kazuha. Well, first of all, she's a catalyst user, right? In that case, you could equip her with Thrilling Tales, right? Which is always going to be nice. As an option, her crowd control is a bit better, right? I do think her crowd control is a bit better as well. Also, she's cheaper. It's a 4-star, man. Come on. Right? There's also, again, assuming like maybe you only have like C0 Kazuha, right? Sucrose does also give a lot of elemental mastery for your team as well, that again a C0 Kazuha maybe doesn't give as much, right? But yeah, even at C0, right, Sucrose has 2 ascension talents that could also give your teammates more elemental mastery. And then on top of that, at C6, right, you also do give elemental damage bonus as well for your team. So like, yeah, C6 Sucrose, again, really does a lot of things Kazuha does, right? Does a lot of things Kazuha does, and that's kind of cool for a 4-star, right? So, is Kazuha good? Yes, he is good. He is very, 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 very good. Again, I do think he's one of the better units in the game, but not a must summon because Sucrose also exists. However, I'm not saying that, oh, if you have Sucrose, then there's no point summoning for Kazuha at all. No, that is also not the case, right? Again, if you can get, Kazuha, first of all, to, like, C2, the extra EM is, like, insane, right? I'd say generally these two are, if we're, again, comparing, like, C0 Kazuha with C6 Sucrose, I wouldn't say, like, the difference is, like, huge, right? In terms of just as, like, support / buffers, right, and all that stuff. Although Kazuha does have like great things like it's easier to double swirl or whatever, right, here and there. But I'd say they're generally not incredibly different. Well, in that sense. But again, Kazuha does have some other great things that he does. First of all, his personal damage is generally going to be better, right? Like the damage that you get from his plunge attacks are actually pretty like legitimate, right? Especially with the for example, his extra ascension talent over here, right? That's an extra 200% attack over here with the swirl. So yeah, like that you do on his punch attacks, his damage is definitely a lot nicer, right? Generally, yeah. You could, if you really want, you could build DPS Sucrose. Right, so there's that. His personal damage is definitely nice as well. Again, double swirl thing is cool here and there, and generally if you are building him right, even against like a C6 Sucrose, right, generally you will be giving more elemental damage bonus as well. So again, there's also that to consider. But like, here's the thing, right? I would argue in terms of you know, Venti, Kazuha, and Sucrose, between these three, I'd say one is enough, right? Generally, you know, that one would be Sucrose, because that's the easier one to obtain, right? But I would say 2 of the 3 is something I would recommend, just so you could have, you know, again, the standard content in the game that you really have to beat is Spiral Abyss, right? In Spiral Abyss, you have 2 teams, right? Upper half and then lower half team. So I would say that even though 1 is definitely enough, I would say 2 would be nice to have at least, right? Just so you could have 1 on one side of the Abyss and then the other on the other side of the Abyss, right? Again, doesn't have to be, you know, who or who. It could just be like 2 of the 3, right? I'd say. And like even like outside of that, units like the other Anemo units, like a Jean, or maybe the upcoming Hazo, or Sayu, even to an extent, I guess. Right, a Nemo Traveler. Again, I don't think they are as effective as buffers as the big 3, right? Sucrose, Venti, Kazuha, right? But they could generally at least they could all get the basics done, which is equip a 4-piece Viridescent and swirl the opponent's freaking resistances off. So yeah, Kazuha's great. Again, one of the best units in the game, one of the top units in the game. I'd say he's easily probably top 10, right? I mean, I've never really ranked that, so I'm not 100% sure what would be in my top 10 personally, but I'd say he's definitely in there, right? And but on the other hand, not a must pull. Great unit. He looks cool. I mean, look, if you love Kazuha, right? If you're a big Kazuha fan, please go for him. Like, for the love of God. He is so good. Plus, if he's your favorite, then go for it. But like, if you also just don't care about Kazuha at all, if you just like, for some reason, hate him or whatever, right? And you skip him, you won't be missing out on too much, right? Like, you're fine if you skip him, as well, as long as you know, have a usable other swirler like a Sucrose or something, right? So anyways, that's me this one, I guess. Hope you all enjoyed. I'm definitely gonna be pulling for him, right? So yeah, let me know, guys, if you're pulling for him in the comments down below as well. All that good stuff. Have fun, folks, and I'll see you guys in the next one then.